Hello, so let's start with our feet hip width apart. Make sure before we start that you've got enough room above your head to take your arms up. All you need is the space of your mat. So standing feet hip width apart, and just be aware of the weight in your feet. So we're going to rock slightly back, slightly forward, spread the toes, and get the weight evenly between the heel of your foot and the two pads the side of the toes. Feet are hip width apart, so that's centre of the hips, centre of the knees, centre of the ankles. And then be aware side to side. Try and feel whether or not you're standing into one leg. Have you got one leg slightly bent? If it is, straighten it up. Let's level the hips, engage the core, pulling in the tummy as if you're doing up a slightly tight belt. The back shouldn't move, it's just the tummy muscles, the deep tummy muscles from the side here. Take those shoulders back. Fingertips in line with the seams of the trousers. And let's start breathing in, and as you breathe out, float one arm up. So you can take it as high as is comfortable for you. I'm going to stand back a little bit so you can see me. Breathing out as you lift, in as you return, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. So breathing out through the mouth as you lift up, in as you come down. So just gently getting some warm up through the joints. Let's change that movement, taking the arms below and then up as far as it's comfortable for you. I'm going to do one more like that and then we'll change it. So as you come down, leave the arms to the side. And we're going to twist little fingers forward, stretching through the back. Thumbs go back, so turn the palms to the ceiling. Keep the chest still so that you're getting the stretch across the chest rather than lifting the rib cage. Moving with your breath. So don't worry if you're not in time with me. And bring the hands to the side. Okay, let's just do small side bends. So make it comfortable. Try and keep the head upright so you're not dipping your head down as you do it. It's just sitting on top of your head where it would normally be. It's all about just sliding that hand down, feeling a stretch through the side of the body as you reach down. And let's go for a little twist. So here you might want to take your feet a little bit wider. I find it's more comfortable wider. And let your feet come off the ground if you want. I want to warm up through the ankles, through the knees, through the waist. Being a slightly colder day today, I'm trying to make sure we are plenty warm before we start our exercises. Now coming back to that perfect Pilates posture. I'm going to turn sideways. You can stay the way you are. I want us to go into a Pilates squat. So it's as if you're sitting back in a chair. Try to think of sitting back rather than leaning forward. You will lean forward. We're just sitting back and lift. Weights in the heels. So I'm using the arms as a counterbalance, but you don't need to. You can put your hands on your thighs if you prefer. So we're trying to keep the back upright. Highly unlikely you'll be able to sit straight upright, but that's what you're aiming for, as if you're sitting back in a chair, working through those knees. Come back centre. Now for the next bit, I'm going to do a Pilates squat, as Pilates curtsy. If you've got problems with your hips, you might want to leave this one out and maybe stay with little squats or go with some hip circles, whatever feels good for you. We're going to curtsy behind, come centre, slightly wider feet, do that squat, come centre, curtsy behind, lift, squat, curtsy behind, squat, curtsy behind, squat. Only have to take it as low as is comfortable for you. One more each side. And arms again, however's comfortable. If out to the side feels better, that's good too. Coming back centre. Deep breath in. So we're going to concentrate on the breathing here again. In through the nose. And think of filling up down here. It's not shallow breathing. You're bringing that breath all the way down. And you should think about pulling the breath into the back of the rib cage. So that's where you're aiming your breath for. In through the nose. Deep breath in. And out. One more. What I want you to do now is have a quick check of your posture. How are your feet looking? Are they pointing forward? Are they parallel? And what about your hips? Have you stuck your bottom out, or are you standing forward on your hips? If you are, adjust that. And then we're going to do a little bit of movement backwards and forwards. So you think you've got it right. Let's get some movement. So you need to bend the knees slightly. I'm going to take my arms up so you can see, but you can keep your arms comfortably. Tilt the pelvis under and back, under and back, under. So you're going to feel the abdominal muscles shortening. You're going to feel those back and buttock muscles stretching as you go back. And then let's take it to a circle. Now, circle or figure of 8, whichever feels best for you. If you're circling, you need to change direction every 3 or 4. Let's come on to some work for the feet. So I want you to look down at your feet, spread the toes. And we're going to come up on both toes, only as high as you can manage. So if that's 1/4 of an inch, that's fine. But if you're able to, both toes up and down. If you need to move to hold on to something, then by all means do. Really helps to strengthen the calf muscles and the ankles. Really good one to do regularly during the day, every day if you can. Do it while you're making a cup of tea, waiting for the kettle to boil. Keeping those calf muscles really strong. Okay, rest. Let's just circle out. Let's go to the right ankle first. Circle out the ankle. So this one I'm getting you to stand on the left hip, left leg even, and change. Circle the other one. And release. Just walk it through briefly, coming up and down. Now, this time I'm going to alternate the feet. So I'm lifting one and then the other. I'm really trying here to hold it on the core, to pull in those tummies, keep breathing, and we're keeping the pelvis as still as we can. So you're still working your feet. You still pick how high you come. So it doesn't matter if it's a small movement or you're coming all the way up onto your toes. Getting some work through those feet. Okay, you can stay standing, but I'm going to come down onto my knees so that you can see a little bit better what I'm doing. Again, feet are hip width apart, so I've got my knees hip width apart. We're going to take the arms up into VW position. So nice and wide, and keep the rib cage still, pulling back as far as you can, and you're going to pull back and down. So we're coming into the sort of W shape, coming back up, squeezing back and down without lifting the chest, lifting up, pulling back and down. Think about squeezing those shoulder blades together. Okay, and rest. Circle a little bit of a shoulder back, circle back. Shake out, whatever feels good. Okay, we're going to come to dumb waiter. So here, hands start pointing forward. Have a look down and check. Quite often I find people cross their hands over. We want to start here, and we're going to go out and back. So elbows are back, out and back. All the movement is coming from the shoulder, not from the elbows. Opening out and back in. So getting some shoulder mobility. Again, doesn't matter here. If you'd rather kneel down, you can, but standing's fine. We are going to do some balance work shortly that will be standing. And we're going to extend it into Cleopatra. So from there, we're going to push out as far as is comfortable. So don't worry if you can't come all the way out. Do what feels good for you. Come in. Bring the hands back. So as if you're holding a tray, flip the hands. Take it out again. And reach. Coming back in. And flip. Taking the hands down. Okay. I'm going to take the right arm up over by the ear, palm facing that way. This hand, you can either put it on your hip or let it slide down. And we're going to reach up and slightly over. So this is about a stretch in the side of the body. And release. Change sides. Coming up by the ear, palm facing that way. Think of reaching up first and slightly over. So again, if you'd rather put the hand on your hip, you can. And release. Let's do one more each side. Taking it over. And release. Okay, from here, bow and arrow. So for the bow and arrow, start with the hands parallel, pointing forward, and you're just going to pull back as if you're pulling a bow, and then circle it back. If that's not comfortable, just adjust slightly. You don't have to go all the way around, but I'm doing a nice big circle to come back. It's pulling it back. Take the head with you as you go back. Release, just shake it out. Circles a little. The circle's a little bit of a shoulder. Shoulder's a little bit of circle, I mean. Okay, from here, we're going to go into our balance. Once again, checking your posture. Feet hip width apart. I'm going to step back so I'm not on too much padding. We're trying to keep the pelvis as still as possible. So what we've got to watch for here is one of the hips either dropping or lifting, hitching as you do it. So really good idea to put your hands on your hips so you can feel what's going on there. And I'm going to get the weight evenly in both feet, spread your toes, and then I want you to slowly start to shift the weight into your left leg as you come up onto the toes of your right leg. And you can either stay there, you can take the foot slightly forward if you want, or if your balance is there and you're still keeping that pelvis still, lift up a little bit higher. So, coming up. This matting is really thick. So if you're on a carpet, you might find the same sort of issues. Really challenging your core. So you're engaging the core and keep breathing. Release. Come back, check your posture again. Really spread the toes of your left foot. Give yourself the best base you can. Engage the core. Nice deep breath in. And as you breathe out, start to come up. You can just bring the toes forward if you want, or if you're able to, lift and hold. Hold on that core. Well done. And release. Do a little bit more balance today again as well. I'm going to do the tandem standing. So for your tandem standing, do it at a slight angle, is ideally one foot in front of the other. So if I show you there, my feet are directly in front of each other, both pointing forward. So they come from here. So if you want to start by just sliding one foot forward and then taking it across, you're going to be in a better position and then line them up. But really watch. When you're lined up, I shouldn't see one foot turned out or anything. So do have a quick look down. But once you've done that foot position, bring your head up, taking your head forward. Your weight's going to bring you into a funny position. Now, if that is really not good for you, if you're really wobbling badly, which I am today on these double mats, just slide one foot slightly out again or slightly forward. I want you to be just out of balance. So you need to be really using those muscles in your hips and your core to keep you in that position. You want to help yourself with the balance. Pushing your hands against your hips can help. Or prayer position helps to engage that core. Keep breathing. Adjust at any time. If you feel it's just getting slightly too much, then maybe take that foot across, but keep both pointing forwards. Well done. Change. Walk through the feet. Give it a shake out if you need to. Same thing. Start with the feet together. Slide one forward. And then if you can, take it across. Toes of the back foot touching the heels of the front foot. Core engaged. I'm going to turn to face you because it's easier for me with the balance. Again, keep that chin retracted, head up. Once you've got the position, you're better off keeping your head up. So the weight of your head is directly down through the body. Feel all those little movements going on. You're always going to feel where you're weak here. Definitely something weak in my right knee today because I'm feeling it just twitching. I'm managing to hold it, but it's twitching. You're all going to feel it where you're weakest. Well done. Shake out. Let's do our Pilates roll down. So chin to chest, one vertebrae at a time. And we're going to do 4. On the 4th one, you're going to stay down on the floor. If you need to adjust your cameras, then please do while we're doing this. As you come up, remember to take those shoulders back, chin retracted, and off we go again. Breathing out as you go down. And on the 4th one, you're going to stay down on the floor. So adjust your computer or tablet as necessary so that you can see what's going on. We're going to do some seated work. So if you need to sit on a block for hamstring type stretches, it's worth grabbing that. I'm going to get you to start with the legs wide as is comfortable. So it doesn't matter whether that's here or wider. Think about sitting tall. So this is where you can make a decision whether you need the block. If you tend to stand forward on your hips, there's a very good chance you'll need something underneath. Watch what's going on with your back. Is your back stacked as it would be when you're standing? Taking the hands either behind you or to the side. And I just want you to sit tall and feel the stretch of those inner thighs. Now, for those of you that are already a little bit back here and having to push yourself forward, that's going to be enough. Anyone who's finding that easy can, which will tend to be those who stick their bottoms out, try and fold forward slightly from the hips. So it's not a rounding of the upper back, it's not taking the head forward, retract that chin. Just think about extending the stretch by hinging from the hip. And again, you can bring the hands in front, but if you keep them to the side, there's a better chance of keeping the upper back where it should be. Keep that chin retracted. Beautiful. Holding that stretch for a moment. Okay, keeping the left leg where it is, bring the right foot in. Now I've got mine quite close here, wherever is good for you. But we're opening out through the hip. Now I'm going to get you to turn to that straight leg. So to your right leg. Sit tall, and again it's coming from the hip. Hinging from the hip, not rounding the upper back. So some of you are already going to be feeling the maximum stretch once you've turned to that position. If you've got some movement there to do, then keep the chin retracted and fold. Again, I like to keep the arms quite a long way back because it stops that rounding. And release. Okay, from here, I want you to take the hand behind you so that you're lined up. So I've got the top hand on the knee of the straight leg. The other hand is about 180 degrees. Try and show you this way. I'm here. Arm comes up by the ear and reach. Now, some of you aren't going to want to do this, but if you do, you're going to lift and feel that stretch all the way up through the body. Take the arm by the ear and reach over. If that feels really uncomfortable for you, then just stay here and feel the stretch here. You'll still get a stretch, it's just not quite so intense. If that's not good on your hand, you can come up onto your fist and release. Coming back, I'm going to turn back round. Coming back to the wide leg position. And do the same on the other side. So this time bringing your left, that's your right foot in, isn't it? We did. So again, adjust accordingly, feeling that stretch out through the hip. It's not a very intense stretch as it would be if we had our legs straight out in front. And turning towards the straight leg, so towards your right leg. Sit tall. And if you can, fold from the waist. If that's already as far as you're going to go, if that knee is a long way up, then just enjoy the stretch here, or try to enjoy the stretch here. Those of you who have the mobility to do so, try and fold yourself from the waist down that leg. Now, while you're holding that stretch, if you can hold it a moment, I'm going to move round to make it easy for you to see what I'm doing next. Hand on the knee of the right leg. The other hand comes all the way behind, so that about 180 degrees. Arm up behind the ear, reach up. So you're either going to hold here, again, hand or fist, and reach. And those that want to can come all the way up and get that longer stretch. And release. back. This time with both legs out straight in front of you. Feet hip width apart, sitting on your block if you need to. So here, I want you to really concentrate on what's going on with your lower back. Is it dropping back, or are you sitting upright? If you're dropping back slightly, you probably aren't going to be able to bend any further forward. If you are able to, and you have movement there, think of, again, folding from the hips. Keep that chest up, keep those shoulders back, keep the chin retracted. And it might only be an inch, half an inch, to get that feeling of the stretch in the back of your thighs. That's what we're looking for. Back of the knees, back of the thighs, your hamstrings. That's what we're looking to stretch. It's really uncomfortable sitting in this position. As long as you're still feeling a stretch in the back of the legs, you could bend the knees just a little. So really be aware of what's going on with your lower back here. Or the whole of your back really, because I don't want you rounding the upper back. Lovely. Again, I come back again to stretch the inner thigh. If this is uncomfortable for anyone, you can just take the leg out to the side and open out through the hip to get the stretch. But those of you that can, this time when you bring that foot in, it's going to be a lot more intense. Again, that's fine too, down by the knee, if that's what you need to feel a stretch in the inner thigh. I'm going to bring mine up as far as it will comfortably go and allow that knee to drop. Once again, I'm trying to keep the body lined up with that straight leg. Watch what's happening with that front toe. Feet are pointing up, opening out through the hip. We'll come back and do the normal stretches at the end of the class. And change legs. So again, if that's really uncomfortable on this side, you could take the leg out to the side and let it drop. Watch what's happened with this foot. Is it still in line? You should have been hip width apart. When you bring it in, the foot's coming in, opening out. Adjust to what is comfortable. It shouldn't be an uncomfortable stretch. We're just opening out a little bit through the hips. And again, be really aware of what's going on with your body. I'm sitting tall here rather than leaning forward. Now, choice again. Those that can, soles of both feet together and opening out. So I'm just holding the instep and letting my feet open outwards. You might not be able to, you might be all the way up here. Really uncomfortable for you? Come back to this stretch, and if you can, turn the feet out. But again, make it comfortable. It should be mild tension rather than pain when we're doing these stretches. And relax. Give it a little bit of a shake out. Back on your block, if you have one. If you're not using one, I'm not going to sit on mine. It does make my bottom warmer, but it's not ideal. I'm going to turn sideways so that you can see a little bit better what I'm doing. We want to be as upright as possible, but if your hamstrings are really tight and you haven't got a cushion or block to sit on, you might want to lean back slightly here, but try and keep as upright as you possibly can. And we're going to lift your right leg and hold. 2, 3, keep breathing. 4 and down, change. Other leg, lift. 2, 3, 4 and down. Right, lift. 2, 3, 4. Doesn't have to be very high. Again, doesn't matter if it's only an inch or so off the ground. So even if you're here, that's fine. I'm leaning back slightly so I can lift it a little higher so you can see what I'm doing. And release. Shake it out. If you can manage one more on each side, then please do. Let's have a go if you can. But again, as with all these exercises, if you feel your body's had enough, it probably has. Don't overdo it. So next exercise is I want you to sit comfortably. So I'm actually just going to sit with a block. underneath in what in yoga they call hero's pose, which is probably really uncomfortable for most of you. Sit comfortably, legs out straight, knees bent up. But if I put mine out the way, you're going to see a little bit better what I'm doing. I'm going to do a little bit of work for the wrists today. So I know an awful lot of people, when we're doing these exercises, struggle with wrist mobility. So we're going to put the hands together and just move them gently up and down. Try and keep the elbows the same height. Whee. Try and keep it central. If the palms come away at the bottom slightly, not the end of the world, but do try and keep the heels of your hands together as you're going up and down, just getting some mobility in the wrists. Try and keep those elbows up. Okay, from there, push it from one side to the other. Now try to make it more about the palms moving than the fingers. So you're not pushing against your fingers. You can even interlace your fingers to give yourself the ability to do that, but getting some movement in the wrists. And let's circle them. Okay, from there, try and show you what I'm doing. We're just going to bring them up and down. So whatever's comfortable, you can clasp them in that sort of position and then clasp them the other way with one thumb over, or fingers together. If you've got arthritis, that might be really uncomfortable, in which case you will have to do the whole hand. But if you can, just up and down and then circle. I'm doing a little figure of 8 actually, that feels quite nice. But again, just to get some extra mobility in the wrists. And then we're going to get some strength in the arms. So shake them out if you need to. I'm going to move my blocks out of the way. Guess what? We're going to come into our tricep work. So if you can, we've loosened them up best we can for today. Hands are pointing forward that way. So pointing forward, directly under your shoulders. If that really is uncomfortable and you know you're not going to be able to do that, then by all means do come onto your fists. But we've done a little bit of mobility first. Now, I'm going to start with the sort of intermediate exercise that I'd hope all of you can do, and that's just coming up. Weight is on those arms. Hold it as long as you can. If you need to come down, come down. Anyone who really can't do that, who's struggling, just keep the bottom down and take your weight back. Watch your elbows aren't coming out to the side, they're going straight back. You should be feeling it in the back of your arms. Now, anyone who's a little bit stronger can take one or both legs out in front and try and keep that neck relaxed. Or you can just take the one, bring it in and change. We're not lifting the feet off the ground. We're really just concentrating on what's going on here in the arms. Rest down if you need to, shake it out. Again, give those arms, those wrists a little bit of a circle. And we're going to go again. Coming up. Or one leg. If you're having one leg out, try and keep the hips in alignment and partway through change over and keep those hips in alignment. But we are here working on the arms rather than worrying about the core and keeping the pelvis stable. We want to keep the pelvis stable, but that's not the idea of this exercise. Next exercise, though, is going to be about keeping the pelvis still. So with this exercise, please don't lift your feet off the ground unless you really are stable in your pelvis. We're going to come down into bridge. If you need a block or a towel, make sure it's fairly small so that your head is nicely aligned. Lengthen your neck. Hands are going to come either across the chest or, and this is my preferred, place them on your pelvis so that you can feel what's going on, but keep the elbows off the floor. Feet close to the bottom, and lift up. As high as is comfortable. And once we're there, I'm going to ask you to take the weight off your right foot. So you're going to really hold it on the core. Lift that heel. And then if that is stable, so if you're managing to hold that on the core and keeping breathing, you could just float the foot a little bit off the floor. But if you're finding your hips dropping or hitching, then just leave it on that toe. Take it down. And I would take it all the way down and rest in between. If you're stronger, you might be able to go straight onto the other side. But I would be inclined to come to here. And again, make sure you're nice and strong first. Take the weight into the other foot. Opposite side this time onto the toe. If you're able to float slightly, do. If not, just stay on the toe. Really concentrating on what's going on with your pelvis, with the core. Release it and take it down. Give it a little bit of a rest. If you want to hug your knees into your chest, maybe give it a little bit of a circle. I'll leave that up to you. Let's go again. Both feet back on the floor. Fairly close to the bottom, hands on the pelvis. Curling up or hinging. Doesn't matter which way you come up. As high as is comfortable. Pelvis is level. Taking the weight into whichever foot. Left foot and lift the right is what I'm doing, but it doesn't matter which you start with as long as you do both. If you can float, do. If you can't, even if you did last time, take it so that you are in control at all times. Foot comes down. Probably need to rest in between. If you need to, roll the back up and down slightly. Give it a bit of a release. Coming back up. Other side this time. Weight into the foot that's staying on the floor. Slowly come up onto the toe, keeping that pelvis as strong as possible. And then float. Toe can stay on the ground if you need it to. Don't lift too high. Concentrate on the pelvis. Coming back down. Okay. Arms out to the side now. Really think about spreading those shoulders, shoulder blades, and having them connecting with the mat. Feet and knees together. And you're going to drop both knees to one side, bringing the top foot off the floor, in steps, joined. And just hold it to one side, keeping the opposite shoulder down. Come back up as you breathe out. Breathe in, nice deep breath in. And as you breathe out, take it to the other side and hold. Hold that for a couple of breaths. Coming back center. We're going to do a couple more, a little bit faster this time. So breathing out as you go down. In as you come up. If that movement's too much for you, then keep both feet on the floor, which will reduce the range slightly, particularly for the top leg. Only go as far as is comfortable for you. So this here is about rotation at the waist and sort of the middle spine. Opens up through the rib cage as well slightly. Last one, come back center. If you've done more on one side than the other, then please add an extra one to make it even. We're going to come back to a little bit of pelvic stability. Feet comfortably bent, knees bent, feet hip width apart, hands on the pelvis. You can let the elbows relax on the floor this time. So we're making sure that those bony protrusions on the top of your hips stay facing towards the ceiling. So hold that, engage the core and breathe in as you breathe out, taking the right knee towards the floor. only as far as you can in control with that pelvis staying still. Breathe out as you come back up. Let's go the other way. Breathe out as you go down. Really control. Think about engaging your pelvic floor. Breathing in as you come up. If you feel the leg that should be stationary is wobbling, push the heel into the floor. That will also help engage the core. And we're going to do one more on each side. And as always, we want to make sure we do the same number on each side. Okay, we've done quite a bit today already for the core. So what I'm going to do is go straight into starfish. So our starfish is opposite arm and leg. I'm going to have to move because I'm kicking the bookcase. Opposite arm and leg. So as you do this, you need to be really aware that you're not rocking your pelvis, tilting your pelvis backwards and forwards. So in control, opposite arm and leg. Go away from the body, pelvis is still, it's just isolating the arm and leg. Watch you're not lifting your rib cage. Next time I'm going to get you to bring both arms up. Take the feet hip width apart. Keep them comfortable. So watch that your hands are directly above your shoulders, palms facing. And all we're going to do is keeping the elbow straight, is think of lifting the shoulder off the mat, taking it back down. So we're getting some movement through the shoulder. Taking it up, bringing it back down. Reaching and back down. This is one of those exercises that for some people is really easy, but if you've got a lot of tension in your shoulders, then maybe very little movement. So don't worry if it is only tiny. Even up again on both sides. So if you start on your right, finish on your left, and bringing the arms back down. Okay, rolling onto your right side. If you've got a towel or a cushion that you can roll under your head, we want to be ideally in that sort of position or here so that you're comfortable. Line yourself up with your mat so that you're as straight as you can be. So often here I see people jackknifed. Think about lifting your waist away from the floor. Think about where you are. Are your hips stacked on top of each other? Are your feet dropped down or are the heels lined up? Taking the weight on the hand in front. Now, if you're really stable, you can lift from here. But for most people, you're going to need to bend that bottom leg slightly just to give you a stable base to lift from. Foot stays parallel. Now again, watch that you're not letting the hip drop back and turning the foot forward. It's the whole hip. So really be aware that the seam of your trousers is lined up with the sky. The foot is flat and relaxed. And you're going to lift and lower. Isn't necessarily going to be very high. What you will see is if I'm doing it correctly, the movement isn't very high. If I twist my foot around, which I'm going to do now, I can lift all the way up there. So don't worry if the movement is small. Now, holding it as high as you comfortably can and do little circles forward. other way. If you need to rest now, please do, but I'm going to ask you to go forward if you're able. And back again. Again, if that's too intense for you, please stop. Watch that that hip is still lined up with the seam towards the sky and the foot relaxed. Okay, bringing that down. You might want to bring it in front, give the hip a little bit of a slap or a bit of a rub. Okay, coming back into that position, coming up onto your elbow, bend the bottom leg. Now this time I want your knees to be in alignment, so don't have that knee forward. Bring it back so they're in alignment. You're in a straight line still. Elbow directly under the shoulder, and you're going to lift up so you feel it on your waist. Watch that you're not leaning forward onto your hand. Keep that hand up. If you can't hold it very long, by all means come down. But just hold as long as you can. Anyone who's feeling really strong can come onto both. Again, watch here that you're not leaning forward. We need to be feeling that. It's strengthening the side of the body. If you want to, you can take the arm over and back. Over and back. But don't feel you have to. Just for those that are managing to hold it there. And release. Well done. We're going to come round onto the other side. Again, let's start off nice and comfortably with our heads. Line up with your mat. Arms straight out if you can. Obviously, I don't have room here. Watch that position. Watch that you're not dropped down. Extend that foot so the heels are in alignment. Bring the hand in front. If you need to, bend the bottom leg slightly. Watch the seam of the trousers to the sky. Foot is parallel with the floor but relaxed. And lift and lower. Try and pull the waist away from the floor. On the next one, we're going to hold it towards the top of where you're comfortable. May go 3 forward, 3 back. If that gets to be too much, by all means stop, bring that leg forward and hold it. You can either join back in or just wait until we go on to the next movement. Forward, 2, 3, and back. Crikey, that's hard on that side this week. I can feel that in my knee. Something going on there, something minor. Okay, coming back into alignment. This time, bend the knee right the way, the bottom knee right the way back in alignment while you're still there. Towel out the way, cushion coming up onto your elbow. Elbows directly under your shoulder. You're nicely aligned. Look down your body, check your knees are together. And you're going to come up onto here. So this hand is out the way, you're not leaning on it forward, you're keeping your body aligned. If you need to come down, that's fine. Those that want to make it a little bit harder, whoops, you can take the hand over if you've got space. You don't have to bend the elbow. I have a bookcase beyond the curtain, therefore I can't go any further. And rest. Well done. Going back down. Okay, let's just stretch those muscles. Sit comfortably. So however that is for you, if you need to sit on your block or cushion, that's fine. Let's take the right hand onto the left shoulder. Let it slide as we push the elbow. Feel the stretch through the shoulder. Lovely. And release. Take it to the other side. Hand onto the shoulder. Push and slide. Let's do the hugger tree exercise. So for the hugger tree, you can clasp the fingers if you like, but I like to place one hand on top of the other, thumbs linked, and you're going to pull away from you. I'm going to turn a little bit so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Pulling away with the hands, and then you're going to resist the elbows outwards. into this sort of position, but the hands are about shoulder height, and then drop your head and look down towards the floor. And a lovely stretch across the back, upper back and the neck. And release, circle the shoulders back. So we're going to do a couple of seated hamstring type stretches. So if you need to sit on your block, please do. I want your back to be as comfortable as possible for this. I want you to be feeling the stretch in the back of the legs. Sit tall. So again, exactly the same as before. Keep that chin retracted. If you need to lean back slightly, that's fine. If you need to bend your knees a little bit too, as long as you're feeling those hamstrings. And maybe alternate, lift one. Let's just lift and lower the knees, pushing them into the floor. If that's already easy for you, fold slightly forward from the waist and then come to a stationary stretch. So those that need to, lean forward, fold at the waist, fold at the hips. Those that need to lean back, that's fine too. Well done. Okay, taking the right leg over the left, foot goes flat on the floor, left hand holds that leg, and you're going to put it across that leg, that muscle we've just been working when we lifted and circled the legs. Let's hold that in, let's stretch that nicely. Taking the other hand behind and gently look over your shoulder. Don't worry if you've got it the wrong way, because we're going to go both directions anyway. But getting a nice stretch through that knee. Okay, from there, keeping that foot flat on the floor, bringing the other elbow, so the right elbow on the inside of the right knee. And I'm using that. I'm keeping the knee, pushing the knee against the elbow against the knee. I like to drop my hand down, but it's up to you. Other hand comes behind. Again, gently let the head follow. A little bit of rotation in the spine. And release, coming back centre. Let's change sides. Make sure you start off again with those hips in alignment, hip width apart. Take that left foot over. Right hand hugs that left leg. You're pulling it into you, feeling that stretch. In the other hip we worked earlier, hand comes behind, really close to your bottom. So you're sitting as upright as possible. Start by getting that stretch first, and then if you're able, gently turn the head over your left shoulder. And coming back the other way. So again, keeping that foot flat on the floor, elbow on the inside, the hand come down, other hand close to your buttocks. Resist the knee against the elbow against the knee as you gently rotate. Let the head follow. And from here, you're going to roll onto your back. And take your right leg, ankle, outside of the ankle, onto the left leg, and let that knee drop away into your figure four stretch. So if you're lying down, you can stay in the lying down position. You can come up onto your elbows. You probably noticed I didn't even go down onto the floor. Anyone who wants to can also come all the way up to really extend that stretch. But for most of you, you're going to be either on your elbows or down on the floor. From there, let that knee slide in so that the knees are close together. So like you've crossed your legs, you're going to roll down onto the floor and grab hold of that back leg. Now, two choices here. You can either just stay in that position, or if that's really uncomfortable, grab this top leg and hold into the position that you'd brought it into. So it is up to you. It stretches that leg in a totally different position. And release. Let's change sides. So again, ankle comes onto the knee, open out and away. If that's as far as you can go, that's fine. If you want to, come up onto the elbows or all the way up. That's that figure 4 stretch. Just turning around so you can sort of see the position I'm in. Then sliding that leg down so the legs are crossed, coming back and holding the knee. Now again, if that's really uncomfortable, you can just grab, once you've got into that position, grab the top leg and let the bottom leg go down to the floor again and just pull in however's comfortable, top or bottom, to get that stretch in the outside of the hip. Okay, for those that want to, we're going to go into a happy baby. Knees come into the chest, open out wide, grabbing the insteps and pulling down. If that one isn't comfortable for you, then just slowly come up to sitting. And then from there again, if you are happy to, take the hands to the outside of the feet, and sort of butterfly, soles of the feet together, and let those knees open out to stretch the inner thighs. Some of you aren't going to manage this one, that's fine. Just come up slowly to sitting. Coming up when you're ready. That's all for this very cold day.